When I was 29, I burned out, and I never want to experience that again. Burnout is one of those things that creeps up on you, and by the time you realize what's happening, it's often already there. That's what happened to me, and hitting that wall changed everything: how I work, how I live, and how I take care of myself. Since then, I've come close to burning out again a few more times, but luckily I've never really crossed that line, and that is because of what I've learned through the recovery process. In today's video, I want to share with you what led to my burnout, what it felt like, how I recovered, and most importantly, 8 ways that it changed my life forever. I want to share my experience in the hopes that it can be helpful for anyone watching right now who's maybe feeling overwhelmed or on the edge of burning out, or who's interested in making some changes and designing their life in a different way to better take care of themselves. I hope this helps you to recognize the signs earlier and to know that recovery is possible. Perhaps make you feel less alone, and that hearing my story will give you some hope and some encouragement to choose what is best for you. This is a very personal story, but I am sharing it because I know that I'm not the only one who's been there. So as always, feel free to grab something nice for yourself to drink if you want and join me. And let's begin. First, I want to give some context because burnout can mean different things to different people. So let me start by sharing what happened to me, how I burned out, what my symptoms were, and how long it took for me to recover. When I first called in sick and was diagnosed with burnout, which by the way, they used a very different kind of like clinical term for that I cannot remember, but my therapist told me that this is what they use to diagnose burnout. I was already in a state of chronic stress and exhaustion for a really long time, at least 2 years. But like many people, I ignored the signs and I pushed through. I had worked at the same company for years and had moved up the corporate ladder to the role of project manager, but the environment felt toxic. And even though many of my coworkers were complaining about being unhappy in their job, I was the first one to actually quit. Let's just say that that didn't go over too well. The conversations I had with my bosses were really tense and uncomfortable, and after already having been tired and stressed for a long time already, I think that was what kind of pushed me over the edge. So the last few weeks of me needing to finish out my contract there were very stressful, and at the same time, of course, I also needed to earn a living. So I quickly lined up another project manager role at a very large company, and I had 1 weekend off in between the jobs. So I started on Monday at that new company, already feeling very depleted. At the same time, there were also some family issues in my life that were very emotional and very stressful. So everything combined with that and leaving my toxic job, no time to recover, and starting somewhere new ultimately led to my burnout. About 6 months into my new job, and I just could not keep going anymore. I physically couldn't go to work, and luckily my new manager was very supportive. And that marked the beginning of my sick leave, my therapy, and my recovery. Just to give you an idea of what I was experiencing, let me share some of the symptoms that I was dealing with. This is still very emotional for me to talk about, actually, and I'm taking some time to find my equilibrium in between the takes. Mentally, I was dealing with anxiety and constant stress. I had a huge difficulty focusing and making any decisions. I couldn't enjoy my hobbies anymore, and I felt like I had lost my outer protective shell. Like everything, I was hugely sensitive to external stimuli. Everything from wind to cars passing me on the road just completely overwhelmed me, and I always felt on edge. And just that feeling of always being on the verge of crying and breaking down, like the tears are already like tingling at the back of your eyes. Physically, I had headaches, acid reflux, shaking hands, increased heart rate. I was getting sick from the cold or the flu all the time. I struggled with insomnia, I had no appetite, and I just relied on caffeine and sugar to get me through the day, and I crashed as soon as I got home. I could go on, but I think you get the idea. It got to a point, and this is very hard for me to talk about and admit, that I started fantasizing and daydreaming about somehow needing to be hospitalized for a while, and the doctor saying to everyone that I couldn't be working anymore. Like I needed that outside professional approval to stop working. And looking back on this whole period of my life, this is still what hurts me the most, that I was actually like fantasizing about something like this. Just because I felt so drained by everything. About my recovery, this was definitely a process. It wasn't the kind of burnout where I could just call in sick for a few weeks and take it easy and maybe go on vacation or even a few months and then feel better. It might have been more like that if I had stepped in earlier, but with my burnout being as severe as it was, it actually took me years. Here in the Netherlands, if you get sick while working, then you get paid sick leave. And that is something that I'm so grateful for because it gave me the time that I needed to heal, which really was mostly what I needed, just time. I had lots of rest, saw a therapist regularly, and slowly started to heal. And the first 3-4 months, I would say that I didn't feel like anything was happening. I was feeling super guilty for taking time off work, and I didn't feel like I was getting any better. But looking back on it now, I realized that I just had to go through that first really difficult phase of working through it and letting it all out to slowly start to feel better. And yeah, as time passed, I started to feel more like myself again. I always say that it took me 2 years to recover, but honestly, it's hard to tell. I don't really know for sure if I've ever made a truly full recovery. And also the road to recovery was very rocky. It was not a straight line. It was very much 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But I would say that after 2 years, I felt mostly like my old self again. During this time, I also started this channel very slowly, just as a hobby, like 1 or 2 hours here and there. And as I started to heal more and as the channel started to grow, I decided to try and turn it into my full-time job. I dipped into my savings for a while, and my boyfriend paid the bigger part of the bills so that I could try and make this work. And about 2 years after I uploaded my first video on this channel, the channel started making an income, for which I'm still so grateful. And now, here we are. So let's talk about how burnout changed my life and the biggest shifts that I've made since then. Number 1 is that I live a slower paced life with fewer activities. This goes for my work, chores, social life, all of it. And this was extremely difficult for me to do because it involved something that I was not very good at, which is accepting myself as I am, as a sensitive person who gets overwhelmed and overstimulated easily, who always tries their best, but who doesn't have endless amounts of energy. In the beginning, I had a lot of guilt and even shame about not being able to keep up a high pace. I was feeling very confused, and I was wondering if I was just weak or a bad worker. And I wouldn't say that I'm 100% there right now with the self-acceptance, but I'm definitely like 95% there. It took me a while to fully realize that no, I don't have to always keep pushing myself beyond my limits. I don't always have to feel drained and exhausted just trying to keep up. And that's not okay, and I deserve to feel good and to thrive. I no longer rush myself, and I try not to feel guilty for needing a slower rhythm. I leave enough empty space in my calendar for rest, and self-acceptance is a practice, but for me it's been one of the most healing ones. I stopped doing things I get nothing out of. One of the contributors to my burnout was the fact that I didn't enjoy my job all that much, and I was doing work that only drained me without giving anything back. And this isn't even just about long hours. Research shows that burnout can come up when there is a mismatch between effort and reward. So when we give everything and there's no sense of appreciation or fulfillment or even enjoyment that we get back from it, it can slowly wear us down. Now I try to be more mindful of this, whether it is work, social life, hobbies. I try to ask myself, is this giving me anything back in return? And if the answer is no, then I give myself permission to let go. Because energy is limited and I want to spend mine where it matters. Number 3, I started setting realistic expectations of myself. I used to expect perfection from myself no matter what area of life. I expected myself to be able to do everything and to also do all of these things perfectly. I always did quite well in school, and I had this reputation of being a good student, so people would always tell me to shoot high with my career because I could really get places and that I shouldn't be content with a lower level job. And all of these expectations made me put this burden on myself as well. It led to this feeling of just always being overwhelmed by all the many things that I was expecting myself to do, yet at the same time always feeling like I wasn't doing enough. I worked very hard to let go of this mindset and to set much more realistic expectations of myself, and I now completely accept the fact that I'm an imperfect human, that I'm allowed to have off days, that I don't have to shoot for the stars all the time, that I can half-ass certain things about life. I still care deeply about the things I do and I always try my best, but I've also accepted that I'm only human and I don't tie my worth to my performance anymore. Number 4, I listen better to my body's signs. Before I burned out, I was quite disconnected from my body, and I did practice mindfulness at the time already, so that did help, but I was still ignoring many of the signs that my body was giving me. Hunger, tiredness, thirst, needing to pee, or even just feelings of stress or overwhelm. I was used to stuffing them down and pushing through. During my burnout recovery, I learned to tune in and slow down and notice what my body is asking for, and to also give myself that as soon as I could. And that might sound simple, but it is something that I actually had to learn, and it's been life-changing. For some people, this could look like basic self-care, sleeping, eating regular meals, drinking enough water, exercising, all of which can be very difficult when you're burning out. Or it can be more involved learning about interoception, which is our brain's ability to scan and notice what's going on inside of our own body. And that connection can be dulled if you're in a state of chronic stress. So for me, I had to build that back up again. So now I check in with myself throughout the day. I take breaks. I do a little stretch, I drink some water, I go on walks, I eat regularly, and I try not to run on coffee and adrenaline anymore. I try to treat my body's signals with the same respect that I would give to a friend asking for help, because really that's what they are. Number 5, I learned about nervous system regulation. The nervous system plays a direct role with things like anxiety, depression, burnout, and this is a topic that really fascinates me. I've never heard of this before I burned out, so I started learning more about it and I find it very helpful. According to polyvagal theory, there are 3 states of the nervous system, and the first is safety, otherwise known as the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is when we feel calm and grounded. The second is called activation, otherwise known as the sympathetic nervous system. And this is also called the fight, flight, freeze response, or hyperarousal. And this is when you might feel very tense and anxious, or constantly on the verge of crying, or you might find it difficult to relax and sit still. And lastly, there is the shutdown state, which is also confusingly part of the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is also called hypoarousal. And this is when you might be feeling numb, spaced out, disconnected. I won't go into too much scientific detail here, but just knowing these 3 states has been really helpful for me. I'm always practicing with trying to notice them within myself and try to do things that help regulate me when I need it. For example, when I'm agitated and stressed, I try to take a few deep breaths. I tell myself a bunch of times that I'm safe, and I physically try to relax the muscles in my body to get back to that safety state. Or when I'm feeling numb, spaced out, and I'm stuck in that shutdown mode, I try to do things to activate myself. So I try to recognize the state of hypo and hyper arousal within myself and do things to help me regulate when I need it, which continues to be a practice for me. Number 6, I learned to prioritize fun. This one surprised me because I didn't think that fun would be essential to burnout recovery, but it really was. Recovery wasn't just about healing and resting, it was also about learning to just have fun, be silly, laugh, goof off, not take things so seriously, and just do things because they bring me joy. When I'm feeling numb or stuck in a rut, I try to do something just for fun. I go somewhere new, or I visit a friend and I do fun things This also helps when I've just been working hard and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed and exhausted from it all. We need to blow off steam every once in a while. It helps to shift the energy around and to feel alive again. And after having some fun, it's also easier for me to then get inspired and motivated for my work again. This was definitely an eye-opener for me because I never used to prioritize fun in my life. I always saw fun as something that could happen, as a condition once everything else was under control, which of course they never really are. Life isn't about doing it right. It's important not to take everything so seriously, and we are allowed to enjoy our life and have fun experiences. Number 7, I don't keep everything bottled up anymore. I've always been someone who kept everything to themselves. If I was struggling with something, I just relied on myself to work it out, and it never occurred to me to share my feelings or ask for help. It wasn't the feeling that I didn't want to be a burden or something like that. It was just that I was used to working things out myself. And well, that's not a good thing. We need others, and it's so helpful to just talk about our feelings and to ask for help when needed. So this was another huge light bulb moment for me in my burnout recovery, to learn not to keep everything to myself anymore. And I am lucky that my boyfriend knows me as well as he does, since we've been together for more than 22 years at this time, that he's always asking me, how are you feeling? Is there anything I can do to help you? And that has been very helpful. Basically, I realized that I don't have to have all the answers. I can just ask or share, and that's been very helpful. I think if I was to have a job right now where I was working with other people, I would try this with my manager as well. Just if I wasn't clear about my job or what they were expecting of me, I would ask, because I never used to ask these things as a project manager. Just try to figure everything out myself, and that was very stressful. I think it's important to ask for clarification if you need it, and to not think that you have to have all the answers and work it all out yourself. Number 8, I stopped pursuing a corporate job. When I started my burnout recovery, I never expected to be able to find something else to do for a living. So I fully expected to reintegrate back into my corporate job after recovering from my burnout. But after a while, I had a choice to make, and I realized that doing a corporate job just wasn't really going to make me happy. I was making good money, I was enjoying the perks that came with those jobs, but I realized that no amount of money will give me a healthy body and a healthy mind. I feel that starting this YouTube channel saved me in a way, and I completely realized this is speaking from privilege. I do think that I would be able to do an office job again if I had to, but I would 100% try to choose something much more low-key with fewer work hours if possible, over trying to climb the corporate ladder again. Basically here, I want to say 3 things. 1, don't feel like it's bad or lazy to choose not to put your career first and to choose something more low-key if you have the option to, and if that fits you better. That is totally okay. 2, believe in yourself and that there are other paths out there for you if you are unhappy with your job. I never saw myself as someone who was creative or entrepreneurial or who had what it takes to be self-employed. And now here I am. So you never know, and you might just surprise yourself. And 3, if you like your 9-to-5 job, then that is wonderful and that's a good thing. I feel like 9-to-5 jobs or just office jobs in general are getting a bad rep nowadays. Like everyone needs to be a TikTok millionaire or start drop shipping or trading crypto or whatever. But no, there are many people who enjoy their job and who are happy with their job. And if that is you, then that is wonderful and I'm happy for you, and that is 100% good enough. And there is no need to also start a side hustle or whatever just because someone online tells you to. Now that I'm working for myself, I find that burnout prevention comes with its own challenges, because I can be kind of a hard ass as a boss and I still demand a lot of myself. I push myself too hard sometimes, but I try to learn from it and do better. I still deeply care about my work and I put all my heart and my soul and my energy and my time into it. but I also take care of myself. For example, earlier this year, I decreased my video uploads. I used to do 4 videos a month on YouTube and then 2 extra videos a month for channel supporters. So 6 videos in total a month. And now I do 3 videos a month on YouTube. So that is 5 videos a month total. And that might sound like a very small change, but in terms of my work-life balance, this has been a very nice change. With my previous schedule, I have frequently felt myself approaching that line of burnout again. And with this new pace, it's just much easier for me to keep up. And the algorithm doesn't like it, so the channel has been going a bit more slowly since then. But I do know that my health and my happiness come first. I just want to tell you to not live your life for others and to design it in a way that you want it to be. It's okay to change your mind, to shift, to choose fewer work hours or a new role or set clearer boundaries. It's normal to enter into new seasons of life and to maybe choose something that you never thought you want to choose, but now you feel like you need to or you want to. There's no one right path for everyone, and there's nothing wrong with you if you feel like that's not you. These are 8 of the ways that burnout changed my life and how I now try to do things differently, but honestly there are many more and I could still have so much more to talk about. All this being said, I feel good having shared my experiences with you. Thank you for listening, and I still get very emotional talking about this sometimes because it was just a very difficult period in my life. And on the one hand, I feel like I have recovered and I'm so happy and grateful about where I'm at in my life right now. And on the other hand, I sometimes wonder if I've ever truly fully recovered or if maybe I'm still a little bit broken inside. But that's life. Both good experiences and the difficult experiences help shape us, and I'm grateful for having been through it and coming out again on the other side. I hope this video reminded you of how important it is to put your mental health first and to set boundaries and practice self-care when you can, especially in today's world. And if the things I shared in the video resonated with you, then I hope you take this as a sign to slow down, take care of yourself, and to take the possible signs of burnout seriously. And I hope you give yourself permission to do that. I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comment section, and let's try and be nice and respectful down there. It's okay to react to what I said or to react to what other people said in the comments, but let's refrain from diagnosing anyone else or telling them that they're wrong or be rude or anything. Let's just try and be nice and helpful, please. Also, I share 2 bonus videos every month exclusively for channel supporters. So by becoming a supporter on Patreon or YouTube memberships, you can unlock these videos and also help to make my content possible. Your support plays a big role in helping the Simple Happy Zen channel to keep running. It helps me to keep making these free videos for everyone here on YouTube and be selective with sponsors. So it is a small contribution that creates a very meaningful, big difference, and I am truly grateful. When you join, you will instantly get access to a growing library of these bonus videos, deep dives, videos, tea time chats, vlogs, and you can choose which platform works best for you, Patreon or YouTube memberships. They have the same content, and I will leave the links for you in the description box. A huge thank you to all my channel supporters who are already there, and of course to you as well, to anyone who is watching my videos on YouTube, which also helps to support the channel, so thank you for being here. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye-bye. It was good that I was able to wrap up filming for this video because the lighting just got so dark and it's only noon. Fall really is here.